This is how it works. In a broadcast script, you have two columns generally. I mean, every newsroom or every communications room is a little bit different in the format, but there's two sides to any script. There's the audio side and there's the video side. So whatever audio you have, whether it be your voice track, your quotes, or what we call SOTs, sound on tape in your script, for everything that you have that's heard, that's your audio, you have to have something covering it. If you think about if you're watching something on CNN or on TV or whatever, network news or local news, you have your script, the person who's talking, the reporter who's created a story, and then they have the visual that's covering that, the B-roll or whatever related visual goes with the audio. So that is the two sides of script writing, and that's why it takes a little bit different mentality in writing a script and telling a story visually. You have to think, what visuals do I have, and how can I tell the story to the visuals, to the video or the video, hopefully video, generally video, but in this case I've included images. Whatever you have that's visually can represent the audio track that you're creating. Now, in your course materials, I have also included some basic broadcast script terms. I've included a couple PDF documents for you to refer to help you kind of get a handle on what terminology do I need to use, the basic script writing terms, and we'll cover that, and I'll get to that in just a second, and the script writing guidelines. How do you tell how long a script is? How do you calculate your time? As I mentioned just before, you got to write to your visuals, so any extra interviews that you have, any extra footage that you might have, you can use that to kind of retell the story that you've already written. And when you turn your draft in, this is why it's really important when you turn your draft in for this week, that you turn it in on time, that I can give you the feedback that you need. I'm pretty, as I've been with your stories already, I give a lot of feedback, but this is meant to help you in your final product. So be sure that you get that in, and I will be helping you kind of smooth out the technical aspect of it and also your storytelling aspect of it. So you want to try to include whatever visuals you have. Now, one question that students often have is, I don't have enough material, visual material, to cover my audio. And I understand that. By this point in the class, I'm not asking you to go back and gather more material. If you can do that, great. But I know the weeks are short. And so what I encourage students to do is, if you don't have enough material, put in your script what you would use if you had that. Let's say, you had some B-roll of someone walking into a building or sitting at their desk or talking, or something creative to that end that would cover whatever audio track that you would have. So you would need to note whatever visual you have or would have, and then write how that would cover your audio side. For example, let's see. If you have a 10-second soundbite from an interview, a 10-second clip of someone talking that's relevant to your story, I want to see that video link. This is where you would want to include what you do have. If you have an interview of someone, you don't actually have to include the actual video in your audio or in your script, but I would like to see what you do have. So if you have an image, tell me what that image is, what that file name would be. Or on your script side, give me a link to the video clip if you have that. I'm not asking for you to have a totally edited package and something video on YouTube for me to see. I'm just asking for you to have the script together and the pieces that you would have if you had that there. So it's too much in an 8-week class to even in 2 weeks to give you total instruction on how to write a script, get all the materials, and edit it all together. This isn't a broadcast writing class, but this is just an overview, an introduction to how script writing is done. So I'm not asking a total edited video package, but I do want to see what you do have. So the best of your ability, show me what you have and how you would put it all together. Now that is the assignment, and of course you can look in your course materials for the instruction on that. I've included this as well. But I wanted to go over real briefly some terminologies. I'm not going to read all this because you can read that yourself. It's included in your materials. But this is your basic broadcast terms. These are the different terms that you would use. Voiceover or voice track is the most common terminology that you're going to be using. Sound on tape, I just mentioned that, is any interview that you've recorded that's going to be called sound bites. And generally these are short. So take a look at these. You don't have to use all of these. These are just some ideas of what, these are just terms that are used generally in different media outlets. Now, one thing I do want to mention that I've seen a lot that students have done is they tend to think that this is like they have to write a show. So they're taking it from the head, and then in their mind they're envisioning an anchor in the newsroom tossing to a reporter in the field and then coming back to the anchor. This is not what I'm asking for. What we're asking for is a simple story. So let's say you're the reporter. You're going to take the story that you've written and you're going to write it from the reporter. You're not in a studio. You were just writing a story as from a reporter. So if you think about, if you watch local news, when an anchor does toss to the reporter, they've got a pre-canned package that they put together. This is what I'm asking for. It's a story, not a news show, not an anchor back and forth like that. Just a story. So I've given you, here's an example of a past student of their script. Now you notice they have two equal columns here. And they do have an anchor lead in, so they have kind of just an intro to this is appropriate. You usually have an intro to your story, and then they start their story here. And here you have your video on this side, on your left side, and you see how they have the person talking. They've noted how long it is. They have their SOT noted here. This is the person that they interviewed. This is what they actually say. This is the verbatim, which has to be included. And as we go on down, we can see if an editor were looking at this, they can see how this story comes together. Now, I have made some corrections here, but this was, in general, a pretty good script, basic script here. And then at the very bottom here, we have, of course, their signature out. So this is a reporter package. So this is the end of the story. So you have your little anchor toss, which is appropriate. You don't have to have that. But at the beginning, they have their video, and this is their actual story. I hope that makes sense to you. I know this is a really quick overview of what to expect for your broadcast script writing assignment. And I know that you're going to probably have questions as you get into it if you have never done this before. I am certainly happy to explain anything to you as you get into this. And again, I'm pretty gracious on my feedback or on my grading for this because I realize that this is all new to students. And so if you have any questions or any thing that you need clarity on, I'm really happy to give that feedback to you. And I think that is all that I wanted to say about the broadcast script. Next, the final week, we will be taking your broadcast script and turning it into a radio script, which will be much simpler. So on a broadcast script, you have two sides. You have your video side and then your audio side, which is you have the video on your left side and your audio on the right side. And you see that they're two equal columns. This will help you calculate how long your script is, which is where I did want to get into the script writing guidelines here. I did almost forget that. So it's a two-column format, double space, all caps. This will help you calculate, actually I'm not sure it's double space, but all caps for sure. Anything except your verbatim for your SOTs. If you have a quote from someone or a SOT from someone, you need to include the actual words that they say. Then the story at the top, you have your slug. For example, you're doing a story on a hurricane, your slug might be hurricane. And then you're going to tell us how long it is if it's a 30-second SOT. Now, for your assignment, it needs to be longer, but this is the example. And you can take a look at this. I've also included this in your course material. So take a look at the script guidelines. So I've got the broadcast script terms and then the broadcast guidelines. So this will give you an idea of how to put this all together. And then you'll see in my example here, this person has their slug here and then how long their package or their story is.